Good afternoon and evening to some. Welcome to today's webinar, the 2022 Keep America Beautiful Unify and Beautify Community Grant. I'm April Wennerstrom, Director of Training for Keep America Beautiful, and today's webinar will include details about the annual comprehensive grant application to design and support the Keep America Beautiful network, other nonprofit organizations, and community groups to implement programs or projects designed to build green, clean, and beautiful places for all to thrive and enjoy. We're committed as an organization to fostering community diversity, unity, and environmental sustainability. And this community grant offering provides project funding either independently or collectively to promote public space recycling and litter prevention. Today's webinar will be led by my colleague, Randy Hartman, Senior Director of Affiliate Operations, Claire Touvier and Gauthier Piers of Serial Cleaners, one of the many products designed by Poraloo Marine to restore waterways and shores. But before we begin, I'd like to provide some housekeeping notes about today's webinar. This session will be recorded and count towards an hour of training for President's Circle recognition for Keep America Beautiful affiliates. At this point, all lines are muted, but you can participate and submit questions by using the chat panel or raise your hand, your digital hand, and either I will unmute you or read your question aloud when we wrap up. Thank you again for joining us today. Now let me introduce my colleague, Randy Hartman. Thank you, Randy.
Good afternoon, April. I'm wondering if we should just pause a little bit. I know I can see the count on participants continuing to increase, and I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to hear what we're going to be talking about.
Super, and I will also add to that. We're going to go ahead and record this as well, and I will provide the details with the organization on the KAB site for this digital recording, as well as to the affiliate network as well. So there'll be other opportunities, but I agree. Let's hold tight, see if we can fill our room. Thank you.
That sounds great. I hope everybody had a good New Year celebration and is staying safe with COVID. We're excited to be able to offer this grant opportunity. So like I said, we'll just wait just a minute or two and wait until the number of participants levels out, which looks like it may have done that. What do you think, April?
Yeah, I think we can start. We have about 140 participants. What's really nice is that folks are going in the chat function and saying hello and doing a roll call on their own. So I always am encouraged to know that people are actively listening and involved.
That sounds great. So again, thank you for joining us today. We want to just take an opportunity to let you ask some questions about our community grant. This is the second time that KAB has done this, Keep America Beautiful. In the past, we actually had each one of these individual projects as a standalone grant. And as you can imagine, 5, 6 different projects and grant programs going on. You guys were constantly being bombarded with different opportunities. We were constantly creating new applications and different reviews. So this consolidates it all. And what we really encourage you to do is look at your community, look at the projects that are being offered in this grant offering, and submit more than one project. And really submit this as a program application. You don't have to. Again, if one of the projects is where you are headed and you want to work on just that project, you can do the standalone application. But in the application, just keep in mind, there's a universal questions that you will be asked. All applicants are going to be asked. Once you do that, you will have an opportunity to select several different projects. One is public space recycling. And in the public space recycling program, we really want to see, there's 2 changes with that this year. One is we understand that promoting and getting people to recycle in public spaces is important. So you can actually apply for and request funding for education and marketing of your existing program or an expanded program or new program in public space recycling. As you're looking to provide public space recycling infrastructure, and that's namely recycling collection bins, we really encourage you to look at those bins that have some smart technology embedded in it, some sort of sensor that will monitor participation and assist you in servicing the collection of those containers. Because the last thing we want to do is have these recycling bins put in public spaces, become overflowing during a special event, and lead to litter, because we really want to combat all that, the littered items that are out there in our public spaces and in our communities, and make sure that the materials get in the right space. So that's just kind of a quick recap of public space recycling. Then, of course, our 20-year plus cigarette litter prevention program application and grant funding is there, as well as cigarette litter stands. We have many more stands to distribute this year. So if you just need the stands and don't want to implement the full-blown cigarette litter prevention program, you can request the stands alone, the cigarette litter collection stands, or apply for the full program. The only difference this year in that program, both for the cigarette litter butt collection stands and CLPP, is this cigarette butts collected need to be recycled. So either you need to have a chemical recycler where you can take those cigarette butts to, or participate in the TerraCycle program, which is at no cost to you. It just means those collected cigarette butts need to be shipped to TerraCycle for recycling. And again, we can provide you the details on that once you're awarded the grant. Our Martin Luther King neighborhood projects, once again, are being funded. There was a delay this year in starting that program. So what we're looking to do is wrap up the 2022 grants in the beginning part of 2022, the 2021 awards rather. And then in 2022, we'll make the awards with this cycle, but funding and project launch of that really does not start until July or August as the earliest. And then there's two opportunities in the community grant application that we want to talk about, and those are really more at the pilot level and partnership level. And that's why it's exciting to have Gautier and Claire here to talk about their offerings. We want to address, that litter. Half the litter that we counted in 2020 was along our waterways. We want to address that litter. They have an interesting suite of technologies and collection devices that we want to make available to you on a pilot and program basis. Work with you, work with them, get those implemented, measure the results, and then come back and identify additional funding to implement that on a larger scale nationwide. The other pilot or pre-qualifying application, if you will, is for major sports arenas, establishing recycling at the public space recycling at those arenas. So both of those are pre-applications. We're not getting into the weeds. We just want to see basically if you're a good fit. Your community, if you have those relationships, if you have that identified need along waterways. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Claire. She's going to give you a brief introduction and Gautier of the menu of applications that they have that we're looking to implement in projects across the US. And then we'll open it up to the group for questions about the grant itself. So Claire?
All right. Well, thank you, Randy, and hi everyone. We don't see you, but we're super happy to be with you and to present to you what we do and how we do it. So I will just directly share my screen, so it makes more sense when I'm speaking. And maybe Randy, if you can let me know. Is that my full screen that I am sharing with you now?
Yes, it is.
Great.
I had to get myself off mute. There we go.
All right, sure. Thanks. All right. So, and just for the information, I'm speaking from France, so you will hear my French accent. And Gautier has been in the US for about 10 years, so you will not hear his accent as strong as mine. But please bear with me. Okay, all right. But I will. I don't. We'll try our best. All right. So we're here to speak about the serial cleaners, and it's a range of products that is dedicated to collection of waste on the shoreline, and it's developed by the company Puralu Marine, which we represent today. So I will present very briefly Puralu Marine to you, and then our range, the serial cleaners. There might be some of you who know who Puralu Marine is, and for those who don't know, we have been pretty much the world leader in design and construction of aluminum marinas in the world for the last 4 years. But maybe I can say broader for any floating construction. We're very well known for any floating structure in the world made out of aluminium. We are based in France, and we have production facilities in Canada, and pretty much, as you can see on the map, we operate everywhere. And to understand the size of Puralu Marine, we're about 180 people worldwide, so it's quite a reasonable size. But again, what we're well known for is our international presence. So that's what Puralu does. And I could go on and exemplify what we do. This is our core market, and this is what we've done from the beginning. So we're able to create life on water, and we operate life on water, and we advise and build and then operate anything that floats. Usually we have high-end positioning. And so these are the type of projects that we do. And I could go on, and these are other examples of floats and floating urban structures that again create life on water. Now, this is not exactly what lead us here with you today. Maybe I can stop a moment to just share a word on the philosophy behind Puralu Marine. So Puralu Marine has developed on strong values, which we hold dear to our hearts here. And these values include taking care of the future. When we say taking care of the future, it sounds, I can say it sounds very ambitious, and it also sounds, sometimes it could sound also, maybe it could sound too ambitious not to sound shallow. But maybe to give it more substance, I can share a bit more. We have a very entrepreneurial perspective on what we do, and we think that to some extent, if we operate as a company, we absolutely need to make a small difference in tomorrow's world. And this ambition has always led our developments. And the serial cleaners really is one example of this development. As you can see, we've always worked on water, and the shoreline is where we work. I have, I think, cut out images, maybe I have here. Yeah, there are a few images of what we see on the shoreline, and this is what we see on a daily basis. This is where we work. So we see our shoreline being more and more polluted, and we decided we wanted to be an actor of change. Again, I say that with great ambition. At the same time, I say that with a lot of humility. What can we do? To what extent? In our entrepreneurial philosophy, we hold very strong to our hearts too that we are industrial. So we're not an NGO, we are not a research center, but we are an industrial, and we own that very much. And we're very proud of the fact that we are able to develop product, innovate, and within a very short amount of time, spread change through our products and through the way we do business. And taking this into account, and the fact that we are seeing a shoreline that is getting more and more polluted every day, we decided that because we are the expert of the shoreline, we can be an actor of change by innovating in the field of waste collection technology. maybe, yeah, this is something that's important that I would like to point out is this is an industrial project, and I will be we'll then describe what our technology do and how. But we decided to come forward with a range of products that innovate in that field. And when I say we really thought about it, we're not, again, we're not an NGO, we're not a research center, but what can we do? One thing that I like to share here to exemplify this was the University of Toronto that ran a few simulations, and that's very interesting. When they ran these simulations, they proved that that's what is interesting. These you can't see numbers here, but figures here, but they proved it by simulations that there is no one solution fits all. So we cannot, as opposed to you, to all of you, to your community, we do not hold the power to foster, maybe I can say, encourage the reduction of plastic waste. This we cannot do, but we can help to increase waste management, and we can do plastic pollution cleanups. And we very strongly believe that the solution lies in an alliance of these three pillars and of communities that act in each field. Again, we are much more located here and a bit there than here, but altogether we can make a difference. And maybe that was probably on my part the most important aspect that needed to be developed, is that we are here today because we think that together, as with other stakeholders that share the same goal to protect the environment, we can go far, and we can do great. We can achieve great progress. And again, the way we can make a difference in this challenge, and this worldwide challenge, is by offering a range of innovative, disruptive technologies that are dedicated to waste collection on the shoreline, which maybe 3 or 4 years ago was not necessary, was really not existing. So we kind of come forward with the first existing range of solutions, which we hope to keep developing over time. Here we go. I think, Gauthier, maybe I should let you speak. Maybe I can finish here. Yeah.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gauthier Pierce. I'm the sales manager for the serial cleaners in the Americas. Some of you already know me, and thanks for everybody else to join today. So maybe, Claire, you need to go to the next slide, if you don't mind. So basically, the serial cleaners is composed of 4 complementary waste collection technologies. There's one for the beach, which is BBOT, and then there are 3 technologies for waterways, which are Collector, Pixie Drone, and Invisible. So I'm basically gonna present those technologies one by one to you. So don't hesitate if you have any questions.
Maybe, Gauthier, what I can say that I forgot to I didn't take the time to mention is this range is dedicated to waste collection on the shoreline, and maybe to precise what shoreline is. Shoreline is to us, in what we have set ourselves as a goal, is 100 meters on land and 100 meters on water. And why? It's pretty much because it's exactly where Port Marine has been working for the last 4 years. So this is where we are 100% legitimate to come forward with innovations and solutions. This is where we are the experts. So sorry, Gauthier, just to precise what shoreline is, because there are so many different descriptions and definitions of the word.
That's all right. Perfectly. Thanks for the clarification. Maybe you can go onto the next slide. And the next one.
Okay, maybe then, Gauthier, I will just precise on that slide. And on this, we have, if you see the name, the serial cleaners, it has some it refers to the universe and to that how do you say, yeah, the universe of superheroes. And we're doing this because we wanted to have a brand that was fun, that could speak to younger generation and be used for educational content. And we knew that if we came with something very industrial, that wouldn't work. So we took the leap, even in a very industrial world, to say we need to have something that speaks to everyone and that has a bit of fun, and it's maybe a little bit different. And we also like that these superheroes also echoes the fact that this is a job for a team of superheroes, and only together we can achieve and we can make progress. So we are very inclusive in how we work, how we do business, how we want to make a difference with this image challenge. And we also want to convey the idea through the brand that everyone can be a superhero. So anyone that takes action is a superhero. Let's take actual, concrete, everyday action, and let's make a difference this way, better than words. And I think you wanted me to go there.
Yes, and on to the next one. So basically, the first technology is Beebot, which is an ecological beach cleaning robot. The Beebot is ecological for two reasons. The first one is that it's 100% electric, so it's solar and battery powered. And the second reason is that it does not erode the beach. Because it's lightweight, it has the tank tracks also. So basically the weight of the machine is distributed on those tank tracks. So there's less pressure that's exerted on the sand. And also the Beebot sift the top layer of the sand. So erosion usually happens when the heavy machines are used. So for instance, I'm sure you have seen tractors on the beach that tow rake, and these machines are basically very heavy and they go really deep in the sand. And what happens is they crush the wet, compact sand that holds the beach, and it basically causes the beach to slide. So we won't have this kind of problem with the Beebot. One note also on marine fauna. Again, since the Beebot sift the surface sand, it is safe for turtle nest. I say that because I get a lot of questions, and actually I got this question from one of the affiliates. The turtle nests are basically sheltered a couple of feet deep. So basically the Beebot doesn't go deep enough to damage the nest.
Yeah,
okay.
And if I may, it even is more how can I say, more performant than this. The Beebot was designed specifically to be the first ever eco-friendly beach cleaning robot. Because even though it may sound very obvious that if you're cleaning the beach, you're being eco-friendly, it's not the case. As Gauthier was saying, many of the, if not the vast majority of machines that are used to clean the beach actually harm the beach at the same time. So this was designed specifically to meet that challenge of being eco-friendly. And the team that built this robot then handed over their design to a team of scientists in Italy to make sure that what they had designed was by a neutral entity proved to be performant, and it was actually approved by the scientific community, that the pressure that is exerted by by the Beebot when it runs its operations is 10 times lower than traditional machine. Sorry, I did not expect this. Gauthier, you can start again.
All right, yeah. I'll let you cover. So then there's also something else about the Beebot. So it's multifunctional. So it's not just used to clean the beach. You can basically detach the towing unit, which is called the X-Bot, which you can see in the front, and basically it has a trailer hitch, so you can use it to basically tow, for instance, small boats, jet skis, trailers, and so on. And then we also offer an optional rake. And this rake is used to basically push seaweeds towards collection points where they can be harvested manually. So of course the BBOT is pretty small, you know, because we had to keep it lightweight. So it isn't gonna collect directly the seaweeds, but we can push them towards collection spots where they can be harvested manually. Okay, and great news for Keep America Beautiful. One of our sponsors has donated a BBOT to Keep Florida Beautiful. So, you know, maybe Savannah Christie, and you will probably hear about her soon because she's gonna get a BBOT in February. And this BBOT will be used by all the affiliates of Keep Florida Beautiful. So don't hesitate to ask some feedback to Savannah about this and to the affiliates in Florida. Claire, you can go on to the next slide. Next one. So the second technology is called Collector, which is basically an electric trash skimmer. And it has to be installed near trash accumulation spots in marinas, in ports. It can be even used in canals. And the way it works is pretty simple. It is equipped with an electric pump, and it sucks in water and trash. Basically then the water gets filtered through a screen that will keep the trash, and then the clean water gets pumped out. Okay, so the collector can collect all trash that are above 4 millimeters. So it can be plastic bottles, it can be plastic bags, caps, even some of the smaller plastic fragments. And it also has oil absorbent pads to absorb surface oil. So if you see like sheen and scum, for instance, in marinas, the collector will basically be able to suck that in, and the water will be clear again. What we observed as well, you know, is that when there's too much maintenance involved, when it's too complicated, people tend to stop using trash skimmers. So the idea with Collector was to design a machine that's easy to empty and to maintain. So as you can see on those pictures, it has a crank and sliding rails, and you can lift it at hip height. So it's very easy to empty and to clean. Okay. So it also comes with the optional side displays that have educational content. So it's those two like boards that you can see on the side. And so those educational displays, they have a QR code towards CleanSwell. So some of you guys I know have been using CleanSwell already. For those who haven't, it's basically a waste characterization app that was developed by Ocean Conservancy in partnership with the University of Toronto. And so basically, after you do the waste characterization, you can upload your data to feed an international database that is used for research, education, and prevention. Because the message is, we know that you know, the technology cannot fix the plastic pollution crisis. We can mitigate its impact, but really, if we want to make things change, we need to educate people, convince them to recycle, convince them to decrease their plastic consumption, and also to reuse. Okay. Claire, you can go on to the next slide. Yeah, next one. So so basically we have Pixie Drone. So the Pixie Drone is a trash capture floating drone, and it comes in two versions. The first one is manual, and the second one is autonomous. So with the autonomous version, you can basically draw a cleaning map onto our web app. The Pixel drone is also equipped with sensors to measure water quality. Okay, and it's connected. So basically, you can track its activity and the data that it collects through this web app. So Claire, you can go on to the next one. So then we have Invisible, which is basically an air bubble barrier. To make it simple for you guys, it's basically a perforated tube that's connected to an air compressor. So the air compressor injects air inside. That tube is dropped at the bottom, for example, of marinas, ports, canals, and so on. And when the air bubbles pop up, they generate a surface current that basically deflects solid trash, but also hydrocarbons towards a collector. Okay, so they have to be used together. So its first mission is to deflect the trash. It also has a second mission, which is to basically purify the water. So it basically oxygenates the water, and it also lowers phosphorus. Phosphorus is a nutrient that causes algae bloom. Okay, so when you see places that have a problem of eutrophication, basically dead waters, you can use the Invisible, and it will bring aquatic life back because the water will be cleaner. It's also a great way to prevent sedimentation. So there will be less dredging involved because it creates like movement in the water. And of course, you know, since it creates this movement in the water, it also prevents the foul odor that you can observe in some marinas and ports and canals. So basically, that's it. Next one, Claire. So here we go. I'm sorry, guys, I tried to keep it as short as I could so that we have some time for the questions. But this is my last slide. As Claire said, you know, really the revolution about the serial cleaners is that it's a range. Whereas, you know, if you look at you know, other companies, they only have one single technology. And basically, we can use those technologies all together. And when they are used all together, they can capture nearly all floating trash. So for the first time ever, we can make a marina, a port, a canal, etc., almost 100% trash-free, which I think really is a revolution. So that's it. I mean, thank you very much for joining us today. You know, we already partnered with some of the affiliates, but I hope that we will be able to partner with more of you guys and extend this wonderful partnership that we have with Keep America Beautiful, and you know, have those partnerships to basically get at some point trash-free oceans, rivers, and lakes. I'm a big believer into partnerships, and I really think that together we can make things change. So I think I took already quite a lot of time, so I believe it's now time for the questions. So feel free to ask any question you may have.
Definitely. Thank you both, Claire and Gauthier. Very excited about the partnership and the future. Excited about bringing the technology here to the US and addressing marine debris and plastics. There's been a lot of good questions that have popped up in the chat. So just to maybe bring everybody up to speed that haven't seen those, some of the questions, because a lot of the examples you were talking about were really ocean specific. Does this also work on freshwater and rivers and streams? And it certainly does. And we encourage applicants on that to submit proposals as well. So man-made lakes, canals, inland bodies of water, the technology would work on all of that. Obviously, if we're talking about shoreline, and beach, we're talking sand. We're not talking a rock or rock beach of that sort. Public space recycling, there were some questions about that in terms of the major sports arena. Do colleges and other venues qualify? This is a new area for us. So right now we're looking for relationships that you may have in your community. Do you have a relationship with that college stadium? If you do, I encourage you to apply. I should have noted on the onset, we have been receiving applications. The average time to complete an application is a little bit less than an hour. So, there's not a lot of questions there. We're just trying to get a feel for what kind of partnerships might be there and who we can work with to roll these programs out. And that applies both for the waterway and the sports arenas. What were some of the other questions, April, that I might have missed?
We have one that just came in. Sorry about that, being on mute. So it's a rookie mistake. We have a bunch of woody debris mixed with our floatable trash. Can you maybe share some of the various devices that you have to mitigate that kind of issue?
So Gautier, do you want to manage that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Randy, I didn't really hear the question.
So basically, one of the applicants has a lot of biomass being collected with their litter. So it's more on the woody nature than it is the seaweed and the materials. But does your technology allow for that kind of collection and separation, and what can be done?
Yes, so it does. And actually, as Claire said earlier, we work a lot with the University of Toronto. Some of you guys know Chelsea Roachman and her team. And actually, one of the very interesting observations that they made was that a lot of that biomass that get collected, by collector and Pixie Drone, is contaminated with microplastics. So it's not necessarily visible, at first, but if you take a close eye at it, it's full of microplastics, and so that was one of their discoveries. But to answer your question, I just wanted to go a bit further. But to answer your question, yes, there is no issue with seaweeds. Basically, collector and Pixie Drone will suck in basically, solid trash, contaminated seaweeds, and hydrocarbons. So basically, it's basically just sucking anything that's floating on the water.
So one of the other questions, Gautier, was about the Pixie Drone. How do you work with that and navigate other uses of the water, basically ships, sailboats, canoes, kayaks? Are there concerns and issues there?
No, so there's no issue with that because it's equipped with a LiDAR. So it's you have LiDARs for example on Roombas, like the Roombas you may have at your home. So here it works a bit the same way, So the LiDAR emits like a laser that's able to detect obstacles. I forgot, how far they need to be, but I think it's about probably somewhere around 300 feet. So basically, if the Pixie Drone detects any obstacle, it will be able to dodge it. That being said, it's a technology that's more designed for calm waters. You see, like I live in Florida, South Florida. We have the intracoastal here. The boats can go very fast sometimes, and of course, the the Pixel drone can detect them, but if they go super fast, it's going to be difficult to dodge them. So let's say it's more a technology that's designed for calm waters. So let's say marinas, ports, it can be canals and rivers, but it has to be a low traffic area.
So, and this may be a carryover from the previous grant application, but you mentioned calm waters. I think we had noted in the pre-qualifying application that really the water speed should be no more than 1.5 knots. Can you talk a little bit about that and your technologies and how strict of a requirement is that?
Well, it depends for which one. I would say for collector, it goes down to the pump. The goal for us is to capture trash. It's not to capture marine life. I get this question a lot. So we have to be careful about the power of the pump. If the pump is too powerful, we're gonna capture marine life. So the idea for us is how we can make a technology that's as efficient as possible and collect as much trash as possible, but we don't want to impact marine life. So if the current is too strong, the power of the pump is not sufficient to basically counter it. And this will always have a limit, because clearly, the goal is just to collect trash. We don't want to harm the ecosystem.
That makes sense. Thanks for clarifying that. I never knew that reasoning, but that makes perfect sense. Shifting off of water a little bit, there was a question about middle school gyms and public space recycling. That would not qualify for something like this. We're looking, basically, full disclosure, it's a adult beverage company that is sponsoring this partnership. So obviously it would be 21 and over in terms of participation and audience that we're looking for at this time. What is the maximum dollar amount or range under each grant project? That is highly variable. So there is no exact dollar amount. I think if there was a limit, it was noted in the preamble to the application. So for UPS, for instance, the tree planting grant, there was some ranges listed. For MLK, there was some ranges listed. The public space recycling and the two pre-qualifying applications, that's just a little bit more open-ended and really comes back down to the project. Other questions, April, that I may have missed?
No, a question from the group of attendees, a little bit more, perhaps you can provide a little more detail on the UPS tree planting grants. I know it was quickly touched upon, but I think someone's looking for a little more clarity on that.
Yes, so that is a project. So one of the priority areas that UPS Foundation has indicated they're interested in is working in some underserved communities. The criteria that we're looking at is the volume of trees planted. The number of trees planted is important to us, as well as the number of volunteers, specifically UPS employees that are engaged in the planting. Those are really two important factors when you put your application together. We do understand if you're working in an underserved neighborhood, it may be more planting of saplings than seedlings, so the count goes down. So, those are all things that will balance in your application, but those are the UPS priorities. And I think we're looking to make awards in that $5,000 or $10,000 mark. We do want there to be an educational component to it as well. So we will provide some signage to help support your program. So when you're planting a tree, we'll give you the resources to maybe put a sign next to it indicating what the value of that tree is in that neighborhood or along that stream bank, if you will, if we're looking at stream bank restoration. So it's a way to really, again, start thinking about your community, tying these things together. You do waterway, litter collection, then you go in and do stream bank restoration with planting of trees. These are all things that can work in tandem. One of the other earlier questions was what's our perspective on having multi-communities, neighborhoods, affiliates working together collaboratively on projects and grants. We encourage that. So yes, please do that. Let us know, maybe who's going to be taking the lead, that there are multiple partners in the project. If the application's not willing, able to clearly point that out, just contact us and send us an email and give us a heads up about that.
Okay, super. I think there was just one more question. I think for some clarity, and this question is for Gauthier. Is the collector similar to the CBIN?
Wow, that's going to be a tough one to answer. So,
Oh gosh, okay.
let me answer that. So I would say, well, in a sense, yes, it's the same kind of functioning. As some of you guys may know, we used to manufacture the CBIN, of course. I think it was mentioned, for the 2021 KB grants. I would say, really, it's been a couple of years since we sell CBIN, and we got a lot of feedback, from people about how to improve, the technology. How do they envision the ideal schema? And yeah, so it works the same, but really the goal for us was to make it to make it like answer more the needs of people. And the two things we heard is first, it's a bit too small. The CBIN was a bit too small. You have to empty it too often. And the second part was that the maintenance, was a bit too much work and a bit too complicated sometimes. So really the idea with collector was to design, a trash skimmer that's easy to use. Because again, as I said in one of my previous slides, if it's too complicated, people stop using the technology. That's what we observed even with some of your affiliates, like in Tennessee, we had that issue. So we want to make sure that, when people use the collector, they are fully happy about it. Yeah, that's
Gauthier, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's my whole thing went down. But if I can add, because I'm the one that had the responsibility to develop the collector here with the teams, and I'm in line with what Gauthier is saying. Only I think the choice of words is a bit important to me in terms of if that's the same functioning. It's actually not the same functioning. So I think now is not the time. But if some of you are interested, I think we'd be super happy to explain how the system works. It is, and as Gauthier is saying, but maybe if I can insist, we were firsthand on field with all the feedback that came back to us, got to us. And the feedback was very much focused on the fact that it was not user-friendly, and you cannot change practices, and you cannot have practices changed and people change their habits if that is a burden on their everyday lives, and if that becomes a cost to their operations. So the biggest challenge was how do we design a product that performs in terms of waste collection, but at the same time that is user-friendly. So it wasn't just a fortunate choice of maybe we can improve this or improve that. There was a whole list of that's what user-friendly is. That's where where we need to get, and that's where we've gotten now. So we're super proud of this product. It's more than we expected in terms of user-friendliness and performance in terms of waste collection. And maybe the only thing that I can add is that if you look at what the collector, I should say in English, looks like, it is very flashy, and that was also an answer to. We asked ourselves, should we try and make it invisible? Should we try and make our technologies invisible? Should they be invisible? And the answer, which, our choice was no, we need to make them visible. We need to make waste collection be sexy. If we want to attract And again, to have our users change their practices, if we want to convince everyone that now you need to take care of the trash, we need to make it sexy. So you'll see all our products kind of are outstand, maybe I can say, or very visible. And that was also part of Collector, which I think is also maybe to circle back to what Gauthier was saying, is different from Cbean, which I absolutely respect that choice, but which for which the goal was rather to make it visible. We decided we need to make it visible.
So Claire, could you just, one of the other previous questions that came up that I forgot to ask was the availability of parts and maintenance and servicing of this, given, you know, your international presence. Would there be challenges here in the US of going with these kind of products?
Well, if I were, I would be crazy to say yes, there will be problems. Just a joke, but no, that's why I mentioned that we are located in Canada. We have a production facility in Canada that is very much a big facility, and so we have we have a big workshop with how can I say, sorry, sometimes the words in English, but we have everything that we need back in Canada. And then we have networks of partners or distributor on different locations in the US. So the maintenance and after sales and spare parts availability, we know is a key part of our business. So that's something that we have always been very careful with. For those of you who have had Cbeans, I wouldn't know what your experience is, but we are also looking at improving that experience to bring it to a Pour Alumarine experience. Again, because some of you might have had that experience, Cbean was not our technology, so we had constraints that were tied to the fact that it was a partnership and we weren't the only ones making the decisions. And that's very different here. And Pour Alumarine has always been very high end. So we only want to deliver the very best experience. So that would, Randy, to answer your question, that would be a point that we would be super, super careful with. We are.
And, I want to add something to this, you know. So I'm basically based in Florida, and of course, you know, I have had a relationship with some of the affiliates, you know, like Keep the Tennessee River Beautiful, Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, and so on. And I can say that also, if there's anything, I'm always there, you know, to help. You know, so yep. we had some issues with the Cbeans that were installed, you know, thanks to KB, and I was always there to make sure that you know, it doesn't stay like this, because the worst part for me would be to have one of our machines used and I mean, actually not used, you know, and right. just sit there and do nothing. So I always want to make sure that we provide the best after sales service to everybody.
No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate your commitment and partnership and approach to working with communities. So I have full confidence that you'd be behind your product and be able to answer that question. Moving on, there's just a couple other things that I do want to talk about. One of the areas that we're very intrigued with is, you know, the applications that you have designed and brought to the table really address the 4-inch and less litter as well. There's a lot of applications out there that address the larger litter that your devices do as well. But, you know, in our Keep America Beautiful litter study, we found that 9 out of 10 items of those 50 billion items littered on the ground are 4 inches or less. So as the community of folks listening here, and you're putting together your grant applications, when we talk about litter and addressing litter, that's very important to us. So again, excited about your applications, how that can be applicable both in rivers, streams, lakes, and our oceans. One of the things I do want to let grantees know about is the lead time. You have not mentioned this, but others that we have been working with us in terms of supply chain and COVID. So even on the cigarette litter stands, we are looking at 3 to 4 months once we place an order for those to be manufactured just because of the supply chain and getting the raw materials to produce these. So again, applicants, as you're putting together your proposals, putting together your timeframes and in terms of implementation, we're going to do our best to get you awarded and contracts in February, but just know you're probably still looking at 3-4 months after that if you're purchasing infrastructure to get started in your community. One of the other questions that was brought up is Martin Luther King grant. And why are we focusing in on Martin Luther King boulevards and neighborhoods? And is it those funds and project monies available outside of MLK neighborhoods? Our sponsor is very concerned about one of disturbing factors in this country. MLK, Martin Luther King boulevards and neighborhoods are some of the most blighted and littered parts of our communities across the nation. So this is a very targeted project around those areas. If you have similar issues and demographics, you can apply, but again, it's not going to be a priority for us. Those priorities right now are those MLK neighborhoods, just like Gautier and Claire have talked about the shorelines and the waterways, 100 meters in and out. Those are targeted under this program, under the waterway program. MLK neighborhood building and restoration and beautification and litter cleanup is really around those MLK neighborhoods. So it doesn't need to be exactly along, adjacent to the Martin Luther King Boulevard. It can be the neighborhood. That is not specifically defined. So what is the radius? There needs to be a connection back to that street, back to that boulevard. Clearly, if it's on the other side of town, that's not a connection. You need to make the connection for us in the application, but we will consider it. But again, that's just one of our focus areas across the nation right now, is to try to provide funding and resources to those underserved communities and make a difference in those neighborhoods. So April, did I miss other points? I think we got them all.
It's very actively engaged. I believe you got all the questions answered. There were a lot of great questions on the topic. So this was a really engaged group from my perspective.
And I really appreciate people being online. Unfortunately, fortunately, there's 12 days left. Applications are due January 22nd, 2022, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Washington, D.C. time. So we do need those in so that we can make decisions quickly and again, make these awards and get contracts signed in February so that you guys can implement these exciting projects. We thank you for your partnership. We thank you for the collaboration of our suppliers, of our sponsors, UPS, Keurig Dr. Pepper, Altria, Santa Fe. I think I mentioned UPS. If I didn't, Anheuser-Busch. Without their support, we would not be able to do this program. And without your support and your partnership, we couldn't make a difference in communities. So thank you for your applications. We look forward to receiving them. And if you have questions in the interim, we encourage you to reach out to your regional Keep America Beautiful director, April or myself, and we will respond as quickly as we can.
Thank you, Randy. We really appreciate it. Claire, it was lovely meeting you. The same with you, Gauthier. I'm looking forward to our partnership and learning more about how we're going to work together. So I just want to give you that pledge on behalf of our team at Keep America Beautiful. So thank you.
Oh,
thank you so much
for having us today. Great pleasure.
And for the group,
thank you so much.
And also for the benefit of the group. Claire was calling in from Europe, so thank you for that. Like I said at the beginning, good afternoon and good evening, and now good night. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.